It's season 7, guys! I feel so excited. Wow. We've come from far. It's season 7. Welcome. You know what? I moved back to America. Yes, I did. I know. But I did. The second time I moved back, things changed. Why? I realized the external change was big. Of course, moved from one country into another, but something was very, very different. For the first time, I understood that surviving change and transition, change, transition through a change are not the same thing. I'll say that again. I understood that surviving change and transition through change are not the same thing. I hope you get me down the line. And that realization changed the way I moved through life. Things were very different. Hi, my name is Lydia, and on this channel I share stories in the context of transition. Why? Because change is what happens around us and is very inevitable, but transition is what happens within us. And many of us just move through major life changes: immigration, motherhood, career shifts, relationships, loss, reinvention, without realizing that there is also an internal process happening, a psychological process, an identity process, an emotional process. And we don't understand that process. And we can unintentionally lose ourselves while trying to adapt. I know this because I've lived through multiple transitions, moving countries, career loss, mental health struggles, military life, rebuilding identity, studying over professionally, becoming a nonprofit founder, building community, raising children across different stages in life and cultures, and more. And I've seen firsthand how awareness, language, and intentional support can completely change the way we move through difficult seasons. So, here we name those transitions that quietly shape us, so we can move through life with more awareness and more intention and more compassion for ourselves and others. Why? Because we just don't want to survive life, we just don't want to exist, we want to thrive. If that's you, you're in the right place. Stick around. Now, back to the story. When I returned to Kenya, during one of the hardest periods of my life, I thought I was stepping away temporarily. But looking back now, that period became an interruption that forced awareness. For the first time, I slowed down enough to see what years of unprocessed transition had done internally to me. And when I eventually came back to America, something had changed. Well, I was still relocating, yes. I was still rebuilding, yes. I actually needed to adjust a lot. But this time, I was paying attention to myself while it was happening. I wasn't just reacting to circumstances. I wasn't questioning myself too much. I kind of knew. I was prepared. One of the most important ideas I encountered during this period came from transition expert William Bridges. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he explains that change is external but transition is internal. And when I had that distinction, something clicked in me. Because I had spent years managing external change while completely neglecting the internal transition. There was always, oh, I'm now in America, but I didn't know that, oh, I had lost my sense of self, I had lost my community, I had lost my job, I had lost my sense of identity. And so I needed to grieve those. I didn't understand that. I just knew how to survive. I knew how to adapt. I knew how to keep functioning. But I didn't know how to process endings. How to grieve identities. I didn't know how to emotionally integrate change. And that lack of awareness had consequences, serious ones. Sometimes we think we are exhausted because life is hard. Like, oh my god, this is just so hard to do. Why can't I just, you know, be like everybody else? Because we are good at just comparing ourselves and seeing what other people are doing. But sometimes we're exhausted because we are carrying too many unprocessed transitions. Life has been happening to you without you noticing. And transitions do require energy, quite a lot of it. Why do I say so? Because our brains and nervous systems respond to uncertainty. They also respond to identity disruption. They respond to loss of familiarity. And they respond to role instability and stress. And when those multiple transitions stuck together without recovery, the body eventually responds, like mine did. And that's not because you're weak or anything, or I'm weak, is just because we are human, you know? So this time, I approached life very differently. I started asking what is happening internally right now. I took charge. Like I said, this is a place where we take charge. We are in control. No longer like a passerby in my own life. I can preempt. I can ask myself, I'm now in my 40s. What's gonna happen to me next? Oh, probably seeing perimenopause starting to come the next 2 to 3 years. What will those symptoms be? How can I prepare myself? What are the options if anything goes wrong? I am no longer passerby in my own life. That's a transition that's coming. I will not be a passerby or a passenger in my life anymore. I will be in control. I will thrive because I have decided to be very intentional about my life and that of other people. For example, my kids, I have now a teenager. Before they became a teenager, I had to learn, okay, this is what they were going to go through. I want to support myself. I want to buy the books and I want to read them and know what is being a teenager like. I never got that kind of support. What are some of the changes their body might go through? What are some of the things they might be seeing emotionally, mentally, physically, other things? And what I'd also do is buy them a book early enough to start to teach them what this process might be. Puberty is not easy, whether it's a boy or a girl. There are books out there. I will definitely find, there will be a time when I'm talking about the general transition. So my son, I got him a book, just like I got my daughter. They're 1 year apart, so really there's not much of a difference with them. To know what's going to change. I don't want them to be surprised by suddenly, oh, this is happening, and they don't know. I want to let them know emotional dysregulation in teenagers is very, very normal. I want them to know that they are going to be in the age of infinite wisdom, as so they think that they know everything, and mom and dad are the uncoolest people on earth, So I'm not sitting back and watching things happen and wondering, oh my god, why is he so unregulated? I know. And I have given myself the tools and the frameworks to understand him and given him to understand himself. And we are going through this together because he's in transition. I'm in transition. I've never been a parent of a teenager, right? He's never been a teenager. So we have to go through that process together. And I've found it to be so empowering that I can preempt what life is going to be and I prepare myself for it. And I'm not sitting here wondering, oh my God, it is so difficult to deal with teenagers. Yes, it is. But when you allow yourself to be empowered, the process becomes easier. The process doesn't become so disruptive to both of you because I have seen when that stage is when most parents have a lot of stress, have a lot of anxiety. The kids also don't know what to do, and it just becomes something that sometimes tears people apart when it shouldn't be like that. So yeah, let's just keep opening the conversation and talking about it. Well, as I go back to where I was, I definitely started asking myself some questions. What is happening now? What am I adjusting to emotionally? I definitely had gone back to work now. I had worked for 3 years. So I'm feeling like, okay, I've lost my job. I need to grieve that. I have to sit down and understand, okay, that's something that has gone. I need to accept. I need to, figure out, okay, from here, what's the next step? I have lost again my professional networks. That's another loss. I'm sitting with it, I'm grieving, and I'm understanding that, okay, I have to do something different to gain a whole new network of people, socially and even professionally, or both. I asked myself, what support do I need for this season? What is the season I'm in right now? This is a season of re-establishing. What do I need? I need to rebuild. I need to connect. I need to adjust to this. I need to also make sure that my kids at that time, I think they were 5 and 6, if I'm not wrong, they are well adjusted to the environment. What does it mean for them to be in a new country after living in another country for 3 years? What is it that they're also going through? I would also ask myself, what grounding do I need before making any major decisions? Because that's the time you're thinking, oh, I need a job, but what kind of job? Because you just don't want a placeholder. You want to make sure that it's in line with your career aspirations and that you're moving towards the direction of the things that you want to move. So, I cannot talk more about being self-aware and being intentional, and how it just makes life more thrilling, and it makes life more meaningful. It just makes life something worth doing. Of course, I didn't have a perfect framework yet, but I was beginning to practice something that would later become very, very important in my life: grounding before movement, awareness before reaction, and intentional transition. And honestly, this channel is for people who want to live that way too. People who don't want to just survive life mechanically. People who want to understand themselves deeply enough to move through change and life transitions without abandoning themselves or without feeling overwhelmed. People who care about growth, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, purpose, identity, and living intentionally. People like us. Well, because transition affects all of us, I've started creating tools to help people navigate it more intentionally. I will definitely leave my free grounded transition checklist below. I hope you click on it and see how it's very simple, but it helps you begin noticing what transition may actually be asking of you internally. Because awareness changes the way we move. And one of the transitions I began understanding differently during this season was my military spouse identity. Yes, I'm coming back to that. A role I had lived for years, before I even knew there was a language for it. Well, change can happen in a moment because change is instant. And the difference with change and transition is that transition takes time. It's not. You might move from Kenya to America. That is change. It's physical. Everyone can see it. You can see it. But transition, you adapting to what the American life is gonna be. Internally, that's transition, and it does not come in one day. And when we honor that process, we suffer less inside because we understand ourselves and we understand what it will take from us. You've made it this far. If you're in a season of change right now, ask yourself this question: what transition might be happening within me that I haven't fully acknowledged yet? And if you want support navigating transitions more intentionally, download that free checklist below and just join this growing community. And as you do that, please subscribe, click the like button, and I'll see you definitely tomorrow.